Hello YouTube, it's CM Maritime History here, back again with another video. And tonight I will be talking about what I mentioned briefly in last night's video, the SS Grandview Point Hotel. Now, sorry about the chair squeaking here. The Grandview Point Hotel used to reside in my home state of Pennsylvania, and it was very grand, as you can see in this picture. And if you notice the subtitle, it says, "A ship that landed a beautiful vista and how it all came crashing down." Well, first off, to explain that, I will explain in the video. But as a brief synopsis, the mountain, which was called Grandview Point, or later changed to Mount Ararat, but it's up at the I think it's the eastern end of US 30, which also known as the Lincoln Highway. Now on the Lincoln Highway there used to be at least, lots of roadside attractions, the Grandview Point Hotel being one. They also had the Coffee Pot in Bedford, PA, which if you guys would like me to cover, I will cover, but it's not really a maritime related thing, so if you want me to start a separate playlist on the channel for roadside attractions, just let me know. But as you can see, this picture was taken I'm guessing this is from a postcard, was taken quite some time ago, as you can tell by the cars just in the parking lot. And you know what? After this semi-brief introduction, let's begin the video. Also, before we start, this is an aerial view of the hotel. I did not find when it was taken. This was on Bing Pictures. I could not find, there wasn't really a date on the picture, but this is the aerial view of the hotel. 17 miles west of Bedford, PA. So, let's start with the design and hotel history. The hotel was built in 1927. However, it was actually originally built as a castle-looking hotel over the mountain in its the same place as it later be transformed into the ship. But it was originally a castle format. I have seen postcards of this similar to the first and third images in the slideshow so far, but I could not find one to put in this that was not copyrighted. Anyway, it was built in 27, like I said, but it was not transformed into the ship hotel at Grandview Point until an expansion in 1932. Louis Franchi, I think? Okay, tell me if that's wrong in the comments, but I think that's right. Louis Franchi and Emilio Rosso, Italian immigrants living in Allegheny County's Turtle Creek Valley, were hired as the construction managers. Rosso was a World War I veteran who had fought in the Meuse-Argonne offensive and the Battle of I'm very sorry for butchering this, but Saint Mihiel? Okay, I think that's right. Herbert Paulsen, a Dutch-born man, their supervisor, had the idea for what would become the ultimate landmark. The architect, Alfred Sinhuber, was born in or around Berlin, Germany, and arrived in the U.S. in the year 1903. He often referred to himself as a building designer or architect and lived in Turtle Creek, but he also worked as a checker and lathe operator at the Westinghouse plant in East Pittsburgh. He was married to Elsa Marie Christen, and his children joined him in the plant. Working in the Westinghouse plant was the norm for those living in Pittsburgh and its suburbs, with Franchi and Rosso likely working there at some point as well. All these individuals would work together to build the ship hotel expansion of the Grandview Point Hotel. Allegedly, Paulsen invited Franchi and Rosso on a hunting trip, proposing to these two men the idea of expanding his existing hotel into the ship hotel. As local historian Brian Butko notes, Paulsen chose these two men who lived near the Westinghouse plant where he and they likely worked, assuming that folks living in Turtle Creek Valley knew all about building on steep hillsides. As Sinhuber designed a new hotel and reportedly supervised the construction, Franchi and Rosso were the construction managers. Paulsen, who was a tool and die maker in the Pittsburgh plant, reportedly told the state government, "It's my property, either you let me build it or you buy the property." The construction itself began in October of 1931. The ship design was chosen since fog in the valley reportedly looked like the sea. Paulsen told them that they had from October until May of the following year to expand the hotel, a time frame of less than 8 months, mostly in cold and snowy weather. A former owner of a car dealership in the area, Walter T. Matthews, told Butker the ship needed over 63 tons of steel and cost about $125,000 to build, which is borrowed at 16% interest. Matthews further claimed that Franchi and Rosso went broke in attempting to build the base of the hotel, having to drill down 32 feet to find rock. Additionally, the site was over 2,400 feet above sea level and 500 feet below the Allegheny Mountain summit, making it very hard to build. Specifically, there was burrowing under the Lincoln Highway, or US Route 30, in order to insert the three heavy I-beams, which embedded huge concrete piers allowing the ship to ride. Other than the cement and 18 steel piers, numerous carloads of lumber were used to the 3/4-inch thick wood that was overlaid with metal siding coming from at least 22 junked car frames to cover the hotel's exterior. Also, nails and 72 tons of steel by some counts went in the construction of the expanded 5-floor hotel, coupled with water piped from half a mile away. While Franchi and Ross did manual work to build the expanded hotel, they had a crew which helped them with the laborious process of constructing the hotel. So anyway, let's look at this picture back here. This only really looks like 2 floors, wouldn't you say? I would. However, if you look at this picture, you can very well see that there are at least 3 floors underneath the side of the highway. So if you were wondering why that was, why it looked like this up here, and I say there's 5 floors, is because there were actually 5 floors. They were just kind of buried below the highway. Anyhow, by the way, this picture here is not just a Reddit dining room. This is actually from what I could tell, and I like the alternate text on it did say this was actually the main dining room of the Grand Ship Hotel. I don't know why I just said Grand Ship. Grand Viewpoint Ship Hotel. Anyhow, after 1931, the Ship Hotel blossomed. At noon on the 29th of May, 1932, after it was announced in the local Bedford Gazette, the ship opened, offering tours, staff inspections, and concerts. On that day, the Bedford American Legion Junior Band, a local German band, and the Bedford High School Band played, while a plane flew overhead dropping flowers on the ship's deck and a stilt walker entertained guests. The hotel was described as having one of the most significant scenic views of the North American continent, with views of a fertile region of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and of Maryland's rolling hills. The main claim, which you can actually see down here on this actual photograph of it, down here see 3 states and 7 counties, and you can also see it in a little bit less fuzzier detail down here. Okay. Like I said, what the main claim was, but there was no official list of what one could actually see from the ship itself. As years went by, the hotel stayed on despite difficulties. The Paulson family actually lived on board the ship and kept it running for many years, with Clara Paulson having the sole distinction as the only person born on the ship. Day-to-day entertainment included a local comedian, a grand orchestra, and much more, even when it was snowbound in the winters. The ship was remodeled numerous times and thrived even when the building of Pennsylvania Turnpike suffered the brunt of anti-German discrimination during World War II and stayed busy until the 1970s as public interest in roadside attractions began to wane. By 1954, reportedly 2 million people had visited it, covering 20 volumes of registers, including those living in 62 foreign countries and possibly famous celebrities such as Calvin Coolidge, Henry Ford, and Thomas Edison. Over the years, the hotel made much of its money in souvenirs and refreshments starting in 1932 and until Mr. Paulson's death in 1973. In the year 1978, the ship was turned into Noah's Ark by another family, the Loyas. So the Paulsons moved out, and they were bought by the Loyas. So I'm trying to think. I don't believe I have a picture of it as Noah's Ark on here, but what they basically did was they stripped the tarpaulins here, they took the funnels off, pretty much took all this stuff down up here. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be some sort of radar device. Took the mast down, all this stuff, and pretty much laid the deck bare, and covered it in boards over all the, steel frame here to make it look more like Noah's Ark, which I think was very sad for how the ship ended. From then on, after the Loyas bought it in 1978, it fell into disrepair and burned down into October of 2001. However, it was a very destructive fire that happened to the ship. Let's see here. Sorry, I lost my place on my script. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. I skipped a few things in my script accidentally. So the new owner of the hotel, the Loyas, they successfully petitioned the state. And remember I mentioned the Mount Ararat name change earlier? The Loya family, they petitioned the state to have the name of the Grandview Lookout changed to Mount Ararat because Noah's Ark supposedly landed on Mount Ararat after the 40-day flood. And actually, if you are still there, there is a sign that actually says Lookout Point Mount Ararat, Allegheny Mountains, elevation 2,464 feet, right next to where the Ship Hotel once was. And the actual hotel itself closed for good in the late 80s. And throughout the 90s, it fell into total disrepair. And also in the late 90s, the Lincoln Highway Heritage Corridor attempted to save the structure, but they were all futile attempts. So in October of 2001, which was 1 month after, of course, 9/11, the Ship Hotel burned to the ground. Supposedly, they say some of the lights were left on, and they burned, they somehow caught a light and burned down the hotel, but, for what I know, the cause was indeterminate. And nowadays, you can see rubble, and, only one wall is still standing of the hotel, and it is down here, level with the side of the highway. So you really can't see it from the highway, you have to pull off to see it. And you can actually see some of the support piers still, and you can actually still see the view, but not as well as you could have with the giant telescope over here. There is actually I forget what it was labeled as, but there's an 8mm film on YouTube that somebody took while at the actual hotel. And there is actually a gas station over here on this side of the road across from the hotel, but that is completely decayed as well. So the hotel is it's all gone. It's probably, so far, I would say, one of the least remaining structures or ships I've ever talked about. For example, like, there are still some artifacts, at least artifacts left from this, left from other ships. Now, there were some things saved, like chairs and plates and stuff, but I mean, it's nothing like, for example, the artifacts you would have gotten from, say, Titanic or something else like that. At least from the pictures I have seen with my own eyes. Well, everybody, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you have any suggestions for new videos, let me know down in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.